Hello, good morning. Welcome to Introduction to Cybersecurity course. And this course is powered by Cisco Systems and is being delivered by Kwaps Networks Training Academy, an authorized Cisco networking academy in Ghana. Today, we are going to discuss the need for cybersecurity, and this is the chapter 1 of the Introduction to Cybersecurity course. The need for cybersecurity. And in this chapter, the sections and objectives are that we are going to discuss personal data. We are going to explain the characteristics and value of personal data. We are also going to define personal data. We are going to explain why personal data is profitable to hackers. Then we'll go on to look at the organization data. From there, we're going to explain the characteristics of value of data within an organization. And under it, we are going to describe types of data used by governments and organizations. We are also going to describe the impact of security breach. Then we will go on to look at attackers and cybersecurity professionals. Under that, we are going to explain the characteristics and motives of cyber attackers and the legal and ethical issues for cybersecurity professionals. We are also going to describe the characteristics and motives of an attacker. Then, lastly, we're going to look at cyber warfare, what goes into cyber warfare. We're going to explain the characteristics and purposes of cyber warfare and describe cyber warfare. Welcome on board as we start the discussion on personal data. What is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the protection of networked systems and data from unauthorized use or harm. So it's simply, as the name implies, it's simply the security that is attached to the cyberspace. Your online and offline identity. What is offline identity? Your identity that interacts on a regular basis at home, school, or work. What is offline identity? Now, this is the identity while you are in cyberspace. Your online identity should only reveal a limited amount of information about you. Your username or alias should not include any personal information, should also be appropriate and respectful, and should not attract unwanted attention. Still on Introduction to Personal Data, we want to find what goes into your data. Your data. 1. Medical records. And this is an electronic health records. And out of it, you have your physical, mental, and other personal information. You also can find prescriptions within your medical records data. Education records. And the components of your education records also are grades, your test scores, your courses taken, awards and degrees rewarded, your attendance, and your disciplinary reports. And these are what goes into your education records. And then we look at your financial and employment records which has income and expenditures, your tax records, which are your paycheck stubs, your credit card statements, your credit rating, and banking statement. You also have your past employment and performance. So you realize that looking at this diagram or this figure here, your personal data consists of your financial data, your data in your computing devices, your medical data, your employment data, your information online, your identity, and your education data. Where is your data? Or where can your data be located? So with your medical records, you can find your data in the doctor's office. You can also find the insurance company. And then store loyalty cards. Your loyalty card stores or compile your purchases. That is another area you can find your data. And then your marketing partner uses these profiles for target advertisements. Now you can also find your data online or with online pictures. And then you have friends, strangers who may have a copy of them at any point in time. They visit online, see them and download them. Now, you also have your data on your computing devices. So data storage and your portal to your online data. And then you also have a list of some examples of your computing devices. Now, how do criminals get your money? They get them through your online credentials. And these online credentials give thieves access to your accounts. They also get them through, or they also get your money through creative schemes. And this is by tricking you into wiring money to your friends or family. Now, why do they want your identity? They want your identity for long-term profits. They also need your identity for medical benefits. They also need your identity to be able to file a fake tax return. And then they also need your identity to open credit card accounts and obtain loans. We want to look at what goes into organizational data. We want to look at the types of organizational data. We have the traditional data, and out of the traditional data, we have personnel. Out of the personnel, we have application materials, we have payroll, we have offer letter, and then we have employee agreements. All these information are kept with the personnel or the personnel office. And then another type of organizational data, which is traditional, are intellectual. And intellectual capabilities that brings about patents, trademarks, product plans, and trade secrets. We also have financial traditional data, and out of that we can discuss income statements, balance sheets, which shows the financial positions of an organization, and then the cash flow statements. And all these things can be found in the financial directorate of an organization. And then we have Internet of Things and big data, which are also organized or organizational data. And under it, we have Internet of Things. And what is Internet of Things? It is a large network of physical objects such as sensors, And then big data is the data that comes out from Internet of Things. We also have confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality has to do with privacy. Integrity is the accuracy and trustworthiness of the information, and then availability is how the information is accessible. So to have an organized data, the data must be available, the data must be confident, there must be confidentiality with that data, and there should be integrity. So I'm going to send you a lab, and the background scenario of the lab says that it is important to understand what data has been corrupted or it has been tampered with a hashing program. A hashing program can be used to verify if data has changed or it has remained the same. A hashing program performs a hash function on data or a file which returns a value. There are many different types of hash functions, some very simple and some very complex. When the same hash is performed on the same data, the value that is returned is always the same. If any change is performed on the data, the hash value returned will be different. So here you have to note that you will need installation privileges and some knowledge of the process to install Windows programs. So what you need is a PC with internet access, and the steps and the processes will give you a direction on how to go about this lab, and I'm going to send this lab to you to work on it. Now, the impact of security breach. And that is, we want to look at the consequences of a security breach. We have to understand that it is not feasible to prevent every attack. Attackers will always find new ways to attack, but ruined reputation, vandalism, theft, revenue loss, and damaged intellectual property are some of the consequences of security breach. Now, examples of security breach. You have an online password manager. Now, that password manager has been kept on the web or online that siphons passwords of people who are authenticated to be use certain facilities online. And when this password manager is activated, it siphons the passwords in order for the attacker to compromise security. Now, some of them are also stolen email addresses, password reminders, and authentication hashes. All these things give out salient information, and it breaches security. Now, there's also a requirement for email verification or multi-factor authentication when logging in from an unknown device. And these ones also give information to attackers, and it breaches security. Now, users should use complex master password, change master password security periodically, and beware of phishing attacks. So some of the breaches of security are ruined reputation, vandalism, theft, revenue lost, and damaged intellectual property. Still on the impact of a security breach, we want to look at some of the security breach examples. The VTech is a high-tech toy maker for children, and we also have exposed sensitive information, including customer names, email addresses, passwords, pictures, and chat logs. Now, VTech did not safeguard information properly, as hackers can create email accounts, apply for credit cards or credits, and commit crimes using the children's information. With the VTech, hackers can also take over the parents' online account. Now, another example of a security breach is the Equifax. Now, Equifax is a consumer credit reporting agency. Under it, attackers exploit a vulnerability in web application or software. And Equifax established a dedicated website with a new domain that allowed nefarious parties to create unauthorized websites for phishing schemes. And when we talk about phishing is a social engineering scheme where an attacker manages to socially engineer or to trick somebody in order to obtain valuable information so that he can use it to attack the person. The second lab we are going to work on are the security breaches occur when individuals or applications are trying to gain unauthorized access to data, application services, or devices. Now, during these breaches, the attackers, whether they are insiders or not, attempt to obtain information that they could use for financial gains and other advantages. In this lab, you will explore a few security breaches to determine what was taken, what exploits were used, and what you can do to protect yourself. What you need is a PC or a mobile device with internet access, and that is the second lab I'm going to send you to do. Our next discussion are attackers and security professionals. We want to look at types of attackers. We have amateurs, and under amateurs we have script kiddies with a little or no skills. So we have those who are able to write scripts but with little or no skills. We have those using existing tools or instructions found online for attacks. These are the amateurs. And then we have the hackers. Now, these hackers break into computers or networks to gain access. Examples are the white hats, who break into a system with permission to discover weaknesses so that the security of these systems can be improved. We also have the gray hats, who compromise systems without permission. We also have the black hats that take advantage of any vulnerability from illegal or for illegal personal, financial, or political gain. We also have organized hackers, And these are organizations of cyber criminals, hacktivists, terrorists, or state-sponsored hackers. So when you look at this figure, you see the attacker, and the attacker can either be a white hacker, it can be a gray hat hacker, or it can be a black hat hacker. We want to look at internal and external threats. And internal security threats can come from an employee or a contract partner. These people may handle or mishandle confidential data. They also threaten the operations of internal servers of a network infrastructure device. They also facilitate outside attacks by connecting infected USB media into the corporate computer system. They accidentally invite malware into the network through malicious email or websites. They also can cause great damage because of direct access. And then we have external security threats, and these are the exploitation of vulnerabilities in a network or computing devices. They use social engineering to gain access. So here you have cyber attacker, and then we have outsider attackers and insiders attackers. And these insider attackers are employees and ex-employees and contract staff and interested partners. And then the outsider attackers are the organized attackers, who are the cyber criminals, hacktivists, terrorists, and state-sponsored. And then we also have hackers, black hats, gray hats, white hats, and then we have amateurs. Now, the last thing we're going to discuss is cyber warfare. Cyber warfare. What is cyber warfare? It is a conflict using cyberspace. And out of it, we have what we call the Stuxnet malware. Now, this malware is designed to damage, or was designed to damage, Iran's nuclear enrichment plant. Now, this used what we call a modular coding, and also used stolen digital certificates. Now, the purpose of cyber warfare. Cyber warfare is used to gain advantage over adversaries, nations, or competitors. Now, they can use cyber warfare to sabotage the infrastructure of other nations. It also gives the attackers the ability to blackmail government personnel. Citizens may also lose confidence in the government's ability to protect them. And it can also affect the citizens' faith in their government without ever physically invading the targeted nations. So today's discussion summary has been the definition of personal data. We have explained the characteristics and value of personal data. We have explained the characteristics and value of data within an organization. We have described the impact of security breach. We have also described the characteristics and motives of an attacker, and described the legal and ethical issues facing a cybersecurity professional. And we have explained the characteristics and purpose of cyber warfare. Thank you.